Welcome to this channel Indian famous Hindu temples. Today we are talking about another famous Jyotirlinga, which is the third Jyotirlinga. Mahakaleswar Temple, Ujjain, Madhya Pradesh. One of the 12 Jyotirlingas, or shrines, that are said to be Shiva's most sacred abodes, is the Mahakaleshwar Jyotirlinga, a Hindu temple dedicated to Shiva. In the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh, it is in the ancient city of Ujjain. The temple is on the bank of the sacred Shipra River. In contrast to the other images and lingams that are ritually established and invested with mantra-shakti, the presiding deity, Shiva in the form of a lingam, is thought to be Swayambhu because it draws power, shakti, from within itself. Jyotirlingas are. According to the Shiva Purana, Brahma and Vishnu once disagreed about who was the creator's supreme being. Shiva pierced the three worlds with an endless pillar of light, the Jyotirlinga, to put them to the test. In order to locate the light's end, Vishnu and Brahma decide to follow the pillar downward and upward, respectively. Vishnu accepted his defeat while Brahma lied that he had reached the end. Brahma was cursed by Shiva, who appeared as a second pillar of light and said that Vishnu would be worshipped forever while Brahma would have no place in ceremonies. Shiva partially emerges from the Jyotirlinga, the supreme, part-less reality. Thus, the Jyotirlinga shrines are locations where Shiva appeared as a fiery light column. Jyotirlingas are not to be confused with the 64 Shiva forms. Each of the 12 Jyotirlinga sites is named after the presiding deity, who is considered to be a distinct manifestation of Shiva. The primary image at each of these sites is a lingam, which is the stamba pillar, which represents Shiva's infinite nature. The temple. Mahakaleshwar's idol is known as Dakshinamukhi, which indicates that it faces south. This is an exceptional element, maintained by the Tantric Shivnetra custom to be found exclusively in Mahakaleshwar among the 12 Jyotirlingas. The Mahajit Shrine Sanctum is where Omkareshwar Mahadev's idol is dedicated. In the west, north, and east of the Sanctum Sanctorum are the images of Ganesh, Parvati, and Karthikeya. Nandi, Shiva's vehicle, is depicted to the south. Only on the day of Nag Panchami is the idol of Nag Chandreshwar on the third floor open for darshan. There are 5 levels to the temple, one of which is below ground, near a lake. The temple itself is in a large courtyard surrounded by massive walls. Sculptural ornamentation adorns the shikhar, or spire. The way to the underground sanctum is illuminated by brass lamps that in contrast to all other shrines. It is believed that the prasada, or holy offering, made here to the deity can be repeated. In the city of Ujjain, Shiva, the presiding deity of time, reigns forever in all of his splendor. The majesty of the Mahakaleshwar temple, with its shikhara rising into the sky and its imposing facade against the cityscape, evokes primordial reverence and awe. Even in the midst of the hectic routine of modern life, the Mahajit still dominates the city and its inhabitants' lives and serves as an unbreakable link to ancient Hindu practices. On the day of Mahashivaratri, a huge fair is held near the temple, and worship continues all night. During the visit, devotees are not permitted to bring cameras, phones, or bags. Devotees have access to lockers and cloakrooms where they can store their belongings. The procession of God Mahakal in his palanquin, called Shahi Savari, to the river Shipra on the last Monday of the holy period of Sawan during the months of Shravana or Bhadrapada is also an incredible spectacle that draws a large number of devotees. Sthalam of Vaipu. It is one of the places where Tamil Savite Nayanar Appar sings the Vaipu Sthalams. The Mahakaleshwar temple as a Shakti Peeth. The shrine is regarded as one of the 18 Maha Shakti Peetham because it depicts Shiva carrying Siti Devi's body. Shakti Peethas are shrines that are said to have been enshrined with the presence of Shakti because parts of Siti Devi's body fell when Shiva carried it. Shrines for Shakti and Kalbhairava can be found in each of the 51 Shakti Peethas. The upper lip of Siti Devi is said to have fallen here and the Shakti is called as Mahakali. References from Hindu scriptures. The Puranas say that the city of Ujjain was called Avantika because of how beautiful it was and because it was the center of devotion. It was also one of the most important places for students to study the holy scriptures. Chandrasena, the ruler of Ujjain, is said to have been a pious Shiva devotee who worshipped him constantly. Shrikar, a farmer's son, heard the king chant Shiva's name one day while walking on the palace grounds. He rushed to the temple to join the king in prayer. However, the guards forced him out and took him to the city's outskirts near the Shipra River. Around this time, rivals of Ujjain, most notably King Ripidamana and King Singadidya of the neighboring kingdoms, decided to attack the kingdom and seize its riches. When Shrikar heard this, he began to pray, and word got to a priest named Vrithi. He was shocked to hear this, so he started praying to Shiva at the Shipra River in response to the urgent pleas of his sons. The kings made the decision to attack, which was successful. They plunder the city and attack all Shiva devotees with the assistance of the powerful demon Dushan, who was granted the ability to be invisible by Brahma. Shiva appeared as Mahakala after hearing the pleadings of his helpless devotees and defeated King Chandrasena's foes. Shiva agreed to live in the city and become the chief deity of the kingdom at the request of his devotees Shrikar and Vrithi. He would also take care of the kingdom against its enemies and protect all of his devotees. From that point on, Shiva lived in his light form as Mahakala in a lingam that had been made by Shiva and Parvati on their own. In addition, Shiva gave his devotees a blessing and said that those who worshipped him in this form would not have to worry about dying or getting sick. They would also have access to worldly riches and be protected by Shiva himself. The celestial god Indra and the king of Dara gave the kingdom of Ujjain to Bhartari, the elder son of King Gandharvsena. A Brahmin lived in Bhartari's state when he was king of Ujjayani, modern-day Ujjain. After years of austerity, he was given the fruit of immortality from the celestial tree of Kalpavriksha. The Brahmin gave the same thing to his king, Raja Bhartari, who then gave it to Pingla Rani, or Anangasena Raja Bhartari's last and youngest wife. The fruit was given to Mahapala, the head of the state's police force, by the queen, who was in love with him. He then gave it to his beloved Laka, one of the maids of honor. Laka gave the fruit back to the king because she was in love with him. After the circle was complete, the fruit showed the negative effects of cheating on the king. The king called the queen and ordered her to be beheaded, then ate the fruit himself. He then abdicated the throne and converted to a religious mendicant lifestyle. Later, he became a disciple of Padanathar, who had an argument with King Bhartari about sannyasi and samsari. Later in the conversation, Padanathar stated that dual mind exists in all women, which may be the case even for Parmeshwari. They tried to kill Padanathar, but Kalu Maram started burning and nothing happened to Padanathar. The king received the news and went directly to Padanathar and asked him to get ready to die the following day, but Padanathar responded, "I'm ready right now, to die." Rani Pingla was given the order to sit in Kalu Maram, a tree whose top portion would be sharpened like a pencil, and the whole tree would be the following day. Lord accompanied tears in his eyes and let holy person out of prison since he really saw sovereign Pingla in adoration with horsemen that evening. He discarded his realm, riches, even full coat dress and wearing a basic kovanam, undergarment. The ruler turned into a supporter of Padanathar and got moksha, salvation, in the Srikalahastishwara sanctuary in Andhra Pradesh, which houses the Vayu Lingam, a piece of the Pancha Buddhist thalams of Shiva. In his works in Meghaduta, the great Sanskrit poet Kalidasa, who was probably a contemporary of King Pushyamitra Sangha, mentions the temple's rituals. He talks about the evening rituals, art and dance performances, known as the Nadaravna. History. During his raid on Ujjain in 1234-5, Sultan Shamsuddin Iltutmish destroyed the temple complex. The Jaladhari, the structure that supports the lingam, was stolen during the invasion, and the Jyotirlinga was thought to have been thrown into a nearby Kodatirth Kunda, which is a pond next to the temple. Following his appointment by Baji Rao I to collect taxes in the Malwa region, the Maratha general Renoji Shinde constructed the current structure in 1734 CE. Other Shinde dynasty members, such as Madhavji Shinde, 1730 to 12 February 1794, and the wife of Daulat Rao Shinde, Baizabai, carried out additional development and management. 1827-1863. This temple hosted major Gwalior state events from the time of Jayajarayo Shinde until 1886. In the fourth decade of the 18th century, the Maratha Empire took control of Ujjain. Peshwa Bajirao I delegated the administration of Ujjain to his devoted commander Renoji Shinde. Renoji's Diwan was Sukatanikar Ramchandra Baba Shanavi, who was extremely wealthy and made the decision to invest his wealth for religious purposes. In this regard, between the 4th and 5th centuries of the 18th century, he rebuilt the Mahakaleshwar temple. The Municipal Corporation of Ujjain took over from the Mahakaleshwar Dev Sthan Trust following India's independence in 1947. It is currently managed by the Collectorate Office of the Ujjain district.